Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Reveal Report, another edition on a Monday. Thanks for being here. I'm your host, George, and what an episode we got for you. Today, we're going to get into occult secret societies that run the world. Or we'll talk about the conspiracy about secret groups that possibly run the world. We've heard this before, and we've talked about it in the past, and it's something that's gone viral. People are so intrigued with this on social media, whether it be Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. They want to know more about it. So I figured let's dive in and have a conversation and look at some of the facts and testimonies of people who claim to have been part of certain secret societies. What we're going to share with you is all public information. You could do your research on it. And these are certain people that will share videos that have come out publicly and have said, oh, I was a member, I was part of it, and this was my experiences. So we're going to share that with you if you've not seen some of these things yet. Some of the things they say are wild. And take that with a heed of warning, everybody, because it may shock you. I want to thank a few people for supporting this broadcast. We have amazing people out there. And I want to begin by thanking Dolly H., Vincent C., with a very amazing contribution to the show on YouTube here on Monday. Vincent, please reach out to me, email me, or message me on Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, DM me. Very, very important. I'd like to speak to you. So if you could get this message, reach out. Vincent C., thank you so much. And Lisa D., God bless her. She started it all over a year ago. She heard about us probably pulling away from YouTube and just doing content exclusively for Patreon. She sent a little something my way, say, I hope this helps. I'd love for you to share your information with everybody. Keep it on YouTube. More people need to see it, hear it, and share it. And I was like, wow, that's so kind of her. And she has been doing this ever since. So everybody, in the comments below, a big shout out to Dolly H., Vincent C., and Lisa D. God bless, and thank you, beautiful people, so much. It means a lot. It goes a long way to keep the show going on a Monday as we get into this amazing topic. And we can't do a show without my co-host, who's also an author, books available on Amazon, does amazing courses that she'll get into a little bit later on in the show. Please welcome Miss Jessie Czebotar. Jessie, how are you?
Hey, doing well, and also so grateful. We do have the most amazing supporters, the most amazing audience. So I just want to express my gratitude as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Just amazing. So much going on. What a wild month of guests. Lots more information to share. And we begin next month, even more guests. And I'm working on some new ones that have never, ever been here before. So we're going to get some new faces the month of April on the show. Stay tuned. We'll release the schedule maybe sometime this week with all the details of upcoming guests that are going to appear on the Reveal Report Monday as we talk about the occult, the esoteric, the supernatural. But today, Jess, occult secret societies that run the world. That's the conspiracy we're going to get into. We're going to go down this rabbit hole. I want to get your take on it. I want to begin with a video because there's a lot of claims and testimonies from different people. Is it true? Is it not? What is it? Sometimes it's difficult to wrap my head around with all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But this gentleman has something to say about Freemasons. He claims that Freemasons are a particular group, one of many secret societies that run the world. I'm going to play this video first, get your take, and we'll get into it. Here it is.
I had to become a Freemason because you can't get involved in Satanism on the hardcore level without first being a Freemason. That was my official shrine portrait, which they took as part of my initiation. I was ready to become involved in hardcore Satanism. What did that mean? Well, that meant I had to sell my soul to the devil. I had to sign my name on the contract in blood. I had to sign my name in the black book. You gotta understand something. The satanic doctrine here is that hell is not what we believe it is, or what the Bible teaches it is. The satanic doctrine is that hell is this incredible party. It's like a nonstop, all-eternity orgy. So you're smoking dope, you're fornicating your brains out, you're listening to rock and roll through all eternity. And it's party hardy time. And before I could get onto the priesthood of Satanism, excuse me, I had to get 7 people to sell our souls to the devil. The other thing I had to do, and this might astonish some of you, is I had to become a Catholic priest. I had to go back to my original vocation. because you cannot be a satanic priest unless, first of all, you're a Catholic priest. And if that surprises you, I just suggest that you go and you read some of the medieval literature. You'll see that that is, in fact.
Wow. That was pretty intense and packed with information.
Now, there's a lot to unpack there. So let's begin first with Satanism. That it said he became a member and got into Satanism. And Satanism is a particular religion, cult group who worship a deity, Lucifer, Satan, whoever you want to discuss. And he was part of this group, and he had to be a Freemason to be a part of it. And then we get into more of it, but this is something that people discuss, saying that there are Satanists, believe it or not, that run the world. That's the conspiracy, Jesse. Yeah. So I want to get your take, what you have to say about the video and what he said.
Well, it's interesting he brings out, some of the interconnections. We think of all of these things like the Catholics, the Jesuit Catholics, the Satanists. We see them all as separate religions. Even, I've brought out others like Kabbalah and Mormonism, Masonry. We think of them all as separate religions, but he was showing the interconnecting piece between all of them, that, there's different circle groups they're going to sit in. And, in order to get into the next one, you have to initially be part of the Freemason, that being a recruiting, it sounds like a recruiting tool that they're going to use, and then they'll begin to elevate into these different circle groups after they get in through the Masonry. So, that goes with my experience and knowledge of how this system works as well. So I thought that was a very vital piece of information. Then he gets into some of their symbols. He's showing you some of the books that they're going to be involved in. Some of, we saw the symbol on the Shriner's hat that he showed, which is, in the Freemasonry, and, he goes on from there. So I thought that was a very valuable clip to display.
And Jesse, people are asking who that is. That's Dr. Bill Schnoebelen. And I can pronounce his last name incorrect. I do apologize, but he's been around for a very long time. This was in the 90s, that original video. And we have more to unpack. I got some more interesting clips. He really breaks things down. Now, again, is he making it up? Was he actually a part of these groups? He seems to have a lot of very interesting information.
Yeah.
To say that there isn't groups that do this, there absolutely 100% are groups that have their own ritualistic things that they do for you to be a part of it. But if you'd like to know more, then that is the gentleman that you should look into to get more information about, because he seems to put out a lot of information, and he talks about it. He also talks about being a Freemason, and that's something you've done shows on in regards to symbolism and so forth. And one of the pictures that I'm going to put up right now has a combined different aspect of images, logos, and so forth. And I want to know if maybe you could break it down for the people watching, and why, some Freemason groups and lodges have this as the representation. So let me bring that up here. I found it to be very, very interesting here. Jess, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, and we even saw some of this symbology in the film that Bill was speaking in. But when you get into this, this is symbolic of their temple. And, you see what we would classify as your Greek, Roman type temple formation. And what many people don't really understand about Roman and Greek temples is that, they're going to have different temples that they built to their lowercase g gods, whether that was Zeus or Artemis, others that they're going to have, Hades. But the colonnades, the number of the colonnades tell you whose temple it was, as well as the structure of the temple. So you're going to have a base where your typical 2 or 4 colonnades are usually, going to be your Zeus, your Hades, and your Artemis. And then we see, we start to see some other symbols in there. We see a unique door with kind of what I call the half eye of Horus look. That half eye of Horus tells us that there's also altars to Lilith there, which is another name for Artemis. You also see the cross within that door with the two lines through it. Now, for them, crosses and the different ways the crosses are formed tell you what Knights Templars are going to be connected, and if they're regional leaders or not. A two bar cross is going to tell you that there's regional leaders that will be connected to that temple, servicing the altars and tending to the altars and sacrificing there. Now, we also see the black and white checkered floor, which in Masonry is very common. That's going to signify that there's a reflection room underneath. And let's go back to the colonnades or the poles. Both in your Freemasonry as well as your Golden Dawn, which is one of the higher levels, you're going to have those poles in connection to that checkered floor in their Masonic lodges or buildings where they're doing their rites or their rituals. The inner poles will be seen in Freemasonry and are known as the Boaz and the Joachim poles. The outer two poles are seen in the Golden Dawn and are known as the Solomon and the Neptune poles. And they're going to get into the worship of the seraphim, the planets, the angels, which that takes us up to the imagery we see on top of the temple. You see what kind of looks like the three interlacing triangles. That's going to, connect to some of your Order of Melchizedek groups at one layer. But that also is going to represent the different seraphim or angels that they worship at another layer. So all of these imagery that we see is going to connect to different orders, different rituals, different rites that they're going to take. And, that's how they communicate with each other, or with these signs, these symbols that, for them, it's a hidden language. We don't understand what each of those symbols mean. Most of us are not taught that as a form of language, and we're not taught that each of those symbols, not only do they have one meaning, like what brotherhood group are they connected to, or what, Luciferian, what Masonic order are they connected to, but they actually have, like an onion, each of those symbols has layers in it. And each of those layers are read or known based on, what circle groups, what degrees the individual, who's connected to it is at. So, if they're just entering in, they're going to have they're going to have the first layer of what that symbol means. But if they've been in this and they're past their 33rd degree, they're going to understand, 30 different things that symbol means.
Oh, very, very good and filled with information. You unpacked it greatly. You gave a lot of description. Some people might have to go back, take notes if they'd like to know more about that. It's quite phenomenal. But like you said, we talk about 33 degrees. Let's just, for the viewer that's maybe newer to the podcast here and watching, 33 degrees. So once you become a 33rd degree Mason, you're kind of high up there. You're one of the highest. But
no, let's talk
hold on.
about that.
That's the segue here. However, it's one entry. It's a level. Yes, it's a higher level. However, certain 33 degree Masons are now introduced to other levels, to my understanding. Now we get into some dark stuff, from what I'm told from people that have experienced this. So let me throw it back to you, Jess, or would you like me to play another video and then we touch on that along with this?
Yeah, let's play the video and then we'll talk about the degrees.
Great. Okay, I'm going to play this another video. This is, again, another one from William. I mean, it gets a little even more crazy now, some of the things he says. So you need to listen very, very carefully about what he goes into. So I'm going to play it. Turn up your volumes. Take a look. Here it is.
They asked you if you believe in God, and I said yes, I did. They didn't ask which God I believed. I didn't tell them that the God I believed in had horns. Basically, Masonry is an antichrist thing. It claims it's not religious, but it is. Almost every single leading occult person of the late 19th and early 20th century was a Freemason. They just go together like, love and marriage. When I was into Satanism, we understood and were taught that Satan draws energy from being worshipped. And when these guys, even if they don't understand it, every time a Mason kneels at the altar and swears an oath, the devil gets energy from that. Again, there was this group in Chicago, and they were entwined with this Memphis Midstream rite, and I interacted with these people, and at a certain point they said, well, if you want to go any further and become a satanic priest, you need to, sell your soul to the devil. And so they took me to this park in Glen Ellen, Illinois, which is like a suburb of Chicago. And they said, don't worry about it. The cops are all devil worshippers. And they brought out this black book, and I swore an oath to Satan, my allegiance to him.
So higher levels, allegiance. Now you're making an oath to Satan. Along with that, you have to sacrifice and give up, or let me rephrase that. You have to indoctrinate and bring in 7 people to be a part of some type of group, to my understanding. So now he's got to go out, find 7 people, bring them in. Even on the last video, I find it interesting to become a satanic priest, Jesse. Here we go. You need to be a Catholic priest. Fact. He says it. You need to become a Catholic priest before you become a satanic priest. So he had all this that was going on, and this is above the 33 degrees. All right. So I don't believe that anyone underneath that even has a clue or an idea. So let's get into that. I'll let you comment on the video first.
So the basics of the degrees, you're going to have in Freemasonry up to the 4th degree, which, the first to your 3rd degrees are really just recruitment degrees. They're going to get familiar with the lodge. They're going to be gathering together for different events, more like your casual social type things. And they're going to provide opportunities for these men to hang together, to invite friends, and to really have guy time, with the hopes that they're going to recruit these men as they join in. And, let me just clarify that it's not all men. You have women in Masonry. You also have children, but they're going to hide the connection to the children. So in this, you're going to have, your men gathering together. At the 4th degree, they become Master Masons. Their symbol for that is going to be the capstone. Now, once they get past that 4th degree, if they want to continue to learn and increase, they're going to begin to enter into circle groups. And that 4th degree is equatable to 15 degrees of illumination. Once they get past that 4th degree, they're not really going to connect themselves, nor would they acknowledge really their connection to Masonry, because they're not really considered a Mason anymore. They're considered an initiate of the flame, or they'll be known by the circle groups that they sit in, whether that's Rosicrucian, Golden Dawn, Order of the Phoenix. Your circle groups can both be brotherhood, circle groups, or sovereign military circle groups, like your Knights of Columbus, your Sons of Liberty. You're going to get different, there's so many circle groups, it's crazy, but they'll be connected to those circle groups. So as they continue to advance in degrees, they'll go from 15 to 30. When we see, let me share the base degrees first, and then I'll tell you what the secondary numbers mean. So after 30 degrees, there's 60, 90, 180, and 360. Now, most of us have heard the term 33rd degree Mason in connection to a lot of our presidents in the United States or world leaders. But when we now understand that that 30 degrees or 33 degrees is, in light of all the degrees that they could have in illumination, 33 compared to 360, right? There's quite a vast difference there. We realize the 33rd degree are really not that big, they're small beings. But their degrees are also connected to their rituals that they're going to be privy to. And those rituals will begin with the different moon cycles. So, your base 15 degrees are going to have certain moon cycles that they'll connect with the guys and they'll understand what happens at that. Your 360 degrees are going to understand all the rituals, that will happen throughout an entire year. Many times you get different calendar groups, different zodiacs that are going to be connected to those ritual times and seasons. Those calendars and zodiacs are connected to the altars and the entities that they worship. So, really at the end of the day, it's how many deities or entities are they aware of and who are they worshiping and at which temples do they have access to. Temples being beyond your lodge or your Masonic, organization lodges. Temples can include your Jesuit Catholic churches, different buildings or high places in different regions or quadrants. So the secondary, that first number, the 15, 30, 60, 90, 180, 360, that's going to tell you their brotherhood order or degrees that they're looking through. It tells you kind of where in their degrees of illumination they are on the brotherhood side. If there's a secondary number like a 33 or a 5 at the end, like a 65 or a 7, like a 87, it tells you their sovereign military, where they are in their learning. So if there's a 3, it's going to tell you they're a Knights Templar. They've entered into the sovereign military, but they're at the Knight level, which is a lower level. If it's a 5 as the secondary number, they're a preceptor, which means they're a regional leader and they're going to oversee other Knights Templars. A 7 at the end is going to tell you that they're a quadrant leader and they're overseeing Knight Templars and other preceptors regionally. So that's what those numbers tell you.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack there, Jessie.
Yeah, it really is. It's such, it's such a vast system.
Yeah, it's quite insane. Okay. That's the Freemasons. This guy got into it. He got into Satanism from that. He had to become a different type of priest. There's so much. All this comes from after you become a 33-degree Mason. Wild stuff. However, there are other secret societies. There are other groups that many claim to say they actually run the world. Freemasons, they don't actually run the world, do they? They're a group underneath those that run the world. Right. They're kind of like the workhorses for all these people in control. It's one of the reasons you become a Mason. You learn about secrecy, brotherhood, loyalty. These are things that you're trained, that you're indoctrinated into. And then when you reach a certain level, I would assume that then you are introduced to other levels and other things if you could handle it. So this is some bizarre stuff. I want to get into it, Jessie. Another group, the Bilderbergers. I'm going to play a video I have for you because not only is there a group called the Bilderbergers, but there's a group that's even higher than them. So I want to talk about that and then get your information or get your feedback on it. Guys, turn up your volumes, take a listen. You may not have even heard of the Table of 9. Here it is.
The major controlling membership of these secret societies is a group known as the Round Table of Nine. They are the heads of the most powerful banking families in the world. When you get right down to it, there are only 9 families who control the wealth of the world, and that is the 9 families whose heads make up the Round Table of Nine. Beneath the Round Table of Nine, there's an international organization known as the Bilderbergers. The Bilderbergers are a major player in this. Beneath the Bilderbergers, each nation has its own group. Most of the European nations look to the Club of Rome. In the United States, it's the Council on Foreign Relations, and in recent years, in our generation, the Trilateral Commission. You may not realize this, but they are one and the same. The Trilateral Commission branched off from the Council on Foreign Relations to give you something to hang on to should they lose political power. It is an old ploy. It's the same as in the playoffs for Major League Football. You have 2 teams and you play yourself.
Very, very interesting. All right, Jesse. So it's the Round Table of Nine. 9 families come together. They're the ones that come up with a overall, idea or concept where they'd like to go. That's brought down to the Bilderbergers, who in turn invite certain people, and these people get in and they start to plan what they'd like to see in the world. Yes, the Council of Nine, same as the Round Table of Nine. So the Council of Nine, which is the 9 powerful families. Some people believe it was 13, 12, in case it is 9 royal families with ancient bloodlines. That's what he's saying. Bilderbergs are underneath them, and they're the ones passing information to him. All right, let's unpack that video, Jesse. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that he brought out about the council. That's important to understand. Whenever we see or hear the symbology of the tables or the dais, the desk, that's going to go back to their beliefs. You're going to get that circle broken into 4 parts. If you imagine the top, the bottom, and the sides, now you have directions: north, south, east, west. Each of your councils in the system is connected to what they're going to call a holy see. The C's being those shapes of the circle split into 4 parts. So, when it talks about the round table, it means that those 9 members, you're going to have a certain number, from in each part of that table that represent one of the 4 major directional councils. So you're going to have members that some of those seats being dual seats, but that's what we're basically getting. So he brings out that in connection to that, underneath that table, you're going to have the Bilderbergers, and they also sit in seats, and you're going to have those seats being rotational. Different people can be representing each of those seats. Each of those seats equals a voice, a power, an authority, a vote. In connection to that, he brings out the Trilateral Commission and the Council of Foreign Relations, all of that going to eventually connect it to governments, governing authorities, and to the United Nations, which is the bigger council of the Brotherhood and the Luciferian system. So that's some of the interconnections with what he was speaking about.
Yeah. He also got into this one, which is the Bilderbergs, and holding meetings since this time here. And they have been known. I think the conspiracy theorist Alec Jones crashed their party, talked about different people, started showing videos of certain members of the American, Canadian, and other governments showing up to these private meetings. Isn't this a crime? I believe it's actually illegal to have these secret society groups, these secret groups having secret meetings to dictate what the world is going to do. This is wild stuff. And a lot of people didn't want to believe it for many, many years. But Jesse, what's going on? It's starting to go public. So what are your thoughts on that?
It definitely has been going public. And, we can now understand their signs, their symbols, and know what they mean. We can also, be able to look back and see what entities, what altars are they servicing. At the end of the day, these people are worshiping, demonic spirits. When you look at that Bilderberg symbol, it looks like an eye of Horus. We just talked about that circle representing the councils and their connection to that round table, or, that council where the Council of Nine, where it's going to be split into different parts. But do we even understand that eye of Horus, where does that symbol come from? That's going to connect back both to your Golden Dawn as well as your sigil of Lilith, meaning that, they're going to get into the ancient worship of both Lilith and Baal. So that's where some of that interconnection is. And should these people be allowed to have a say or have secret meetings that are going to impact our finances or our government, no matter which nation we're in? No. I mean, really what we have operating in truth is a foreign government and a foreign military that has infiltrated every country to, increase their evil agenda and the wicked that they do.
Yeah. It's disturbing that if to be true that there are people gathered in locations once a year or so that collaborate with each other on how to control the masses of the people for their benefit. They're initially trying to dictate what we eat, what we drink, how we sleep, what we're taught, what we see, what we hear. However, what is the basis to this, Jess? That's the number one thing. Everything I've learned all has to do with spirituality and the battle in the supernatural.
Right.
Because it's not about the human battle, it's about the supernatural battle. I've always been taught and I always learned there's something else going on that's beyond us that we cannot touch, smell, taste, feel, or see. Something supernatural, forces and entities. Is this all based on that? Something that we don't know, we can't see, and they're doing their bidding? And for what reason? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, the bidding is because of their position within the system. When we see that Bilderberg symbol, if you go back to it quick with the circle in the middle, where does that circle or that imagery come from? We'll find that circle above the colonnades in your Masonic temple. They'll have two columns on that checkered floor. One will have a sun, a circle, the other will have a moon. Now, what does, the circle represent? It's going to represent your full moon and your new moon rituals, but it also represents a position. When we see that in connection to groups like the Bilderbergs, it tells us what they have to have in order to serve in that position. That circle, we're going to see that in your tarot card for the high priestess, but it can also represent your high priest. So all of your members of the Bilderberg are going to be high priests or high priestesses. And they're going to also be in charge of overseeing financially, making sure there's a supply and demand for the rituals that in their regions or the quadrants where they're serving. So when we understand it from that perspective, that these symbols are sacred to them, these symbols have been passed down orally for generations. And only if you're in there, only if you are certain degrees, are you going to understand what these symbols and images mean. But when we, in our base understanding, as we begin to look at these things, we know it represents their worship. It represents rituals, when their rituals are taking place, whether it's in the daytime, whether it's in the nighttime, whether it's in the Masonic Lodge or the Catholic Church. We know there are altars. What happens at the altars where they're worshiping these entities and these deities that, they call on from ancient cultures, like Baal or Molech or the Hittite gods, or even the Aztec, the Mayan gods, your Egyptian gods. They're going to worship them all at different layers and different circle groups, different levels. And, even some of the, stay on this one for just a moment. We see that upside down triangle with an arrow through it at the one with the Bilderberg table or the elite table there. That symbol also is used in Odinism, but it also is used in Nazism. So we begin to get into, people that have a foreign government, a foreign military, and their quest to rule the world in connection with spiritual entities that were cast out of the presence of God. Because why were they cast out? It was because Lucifer rose up and basically said, I will be like the Most High, I will be God. So it gets into their belief system, and that system includes even trying to usurp the throne of God.
Wild stuff, Jess. I got to tell you, wild stuff. Jess, I'm going to play one more video here because there's another group I want to touch on. This guy talks about the law of attraction, and there's a reason for it. There is a reason for it. And he was part of many different groups and made a lot of money and learned a lot of things. Again, another secret society that has a lot of power that could possibly be one of those that also run the world. So I'm going to let you listen to this clip. It's real quick and then get your take on it. Here it is.
There's two types of secret societies. One is the group like Masons, Bilderberg, Bohemian Grove, Council on Foreign Relations, Skull and Bones. They're not secret. People know they exist. They know who the members are. But what goes on is secret. That's the first group. Then there's the second group of secret societies, which are really secret, that no one's ever heard about, like the Brotherhood. The real secret societies nobody knows exist.
He was part of something called the Brotherhood. He participated in different meetings. They talked about frequency with one another. A lot of them weren't aware. He was one of those that helped guide and help them understand frequency. Okay, this is a very important topic because I discuss this. Usually I say something at the end of my broadcast. I always say, raise your vibration. You are resonating frequency. This is not New Age. You must understand this is real, okay? When you're vibrating on a low frequency of suffering, sorrow, torment, darkness, distress, you are feeding a negative entity. You are feeding negative energies. I always say, raise your vibration, everybody. Smile, laugh, sing, love, be compassionate, do something kind, do something good, and you'll raise it. You'll feel good, and you'll fill the world with beautiful energy. They understand this frequency. It's why you're always getting bombarded on the media with negative things. If you watch a news cycle, it's 99% negative. War, fighting, evil, dark, this, that, and all of that is to lower your frequency. He talks about it. So I want to get your take on it because I thought it to be very important.
You're absolutely right. As we begin to start to look at, I don't separate the things we've been talking about today. All of it is interconnected, from the Freemasonry all the way through the Brotherhood. The truth is that your Freemasons are a department within that system of the Luciferian Brotherhood and Sovereign Military Order. When you get into the higher levels, they're going to start to study that frequency in connection to spiritual gates, in connection to soul resonance, and they're going to identify all of that. Why? Because our world is created, through light, frequency, sound, color. All of that are things that they're going to understand at that quantum level as they get higher in the system. So, it is very important to what they do. That's going to get into their access into the spiritual world. The frequencies, the sounds, the colors, that's connected to your spiritual gates or portals. And all of that is connected to song, to light, and to accessing different spiritual realms or dimensions. And at the end of the day, that's what they want access to. Why? Because they believe they're gods. They have contracts with these entities or deities that are interdimensional beings, and they want to work together with those beings to usurp the throne of God and overtake the kingdom of God. That's what it comes down to. And that's, their belief. That's what they really believe they're going to do.
Jess, I'm going to post a comment. I want you to check this out. We're going to talk about this for 1/4 of a second here. This comment came from Marissa, and she says, I was saying earlier that every Mason I ever met was highly sexual. Odd. When I see it, it's just so extra. I'm happy she said that, because we're going to get into that, but not here. Unfortunately, that's something we cannot discuss. And I have a video that I'd like to share with you that is going to blow people's minds who have never heard about this. There is a reason for people doing sex magic and a certain type of sex magic. We're going to break it down for you. That's going to happen on the after show. Right after this, we're going to Patreon. Join my Patreon, everybody. Be a part of the after show. And you can ask me or Jessie some questions as we have a open round table. That's following this show. I'm going to play this video. Jess, we're going to get into that aspect of it, of sex magic, and because that's important, and a specific type of sex magic. We'll explain why. For those who have never heard this explanation, wow, that's all I'm going to say. It's going to be wild. So stay tuned for that. Jess, again, Freemasons, Bilderbergers, the Council of Foreign Relations, Satanists, the Brotherhood, so many, many more of these groups that so-called run the world, work in secret, and now starting to come out public. It's a deep doubt rabbit hole. You got to dig deep and go down. Some people don't want to. They call it a conspiracy. However, now it's becoming a lot more public knowledge that, yes, in fact, people are meeting one another to discuss our future. So there's your e-warning. And it's an interesting one, that's for sure. We hope you took this information in. You might have to go back to get more details on it, look into it, take some of the names we've shared with you, and do your own research. Always, we ask you to do that. It's a great, don't just listen to me, Jessie, and all my guests. Go and do your own thing. It's very important. Jess, all right, let's talk really quickly about your ministry, what you got going on, and how people could follow you.
Yeah, you can follow me on kingdomlivingwithjessie.com. On there, you'll find my courses, my books, the events, the workshops that I'm doing. You'll also find my Unveiling the System series, which gets into a breakdown, will help you understand a lot of what we were discussing tonight, including, how the Brotherhood is structured, how the sovereign military are structured, and what are the signs and symbols that they use. You'll also find that in my coaching series, which also is on the website. And then you also can follow me on patreon.com.
Great. Thank you so much. Guys, for myself, I'm on Patreon, and we do an after show every Monday. Sometimes I'll post some great videos. I ask everyone to check them out. They're great. I try to find very hard to get footage of things that maybe from the 70s, 80s, late 90s. We upload them. We share it with you. We all are sharing information, so we love all your support. Follow us on Telegram, on Twitter, on Instagram. And again, I am no longer on PayPal, everybody. Currently on Cash App. So if you can support and send something, it does help. It goes a long way to help produce these type of shows on Monday to share with everyone. It means a lot, guys. And again, 3 people, we got to do a shout out for Dolly H, Vincent C, please DM me, message me. It's important. And Lisa D, who started it all. 3 amazing people. Give them a thank you in the comments below. Guys, without further ado, I want to thank you guys all for watching. And we hope you tune into the after show. Coming up next on Patreon. Have a great weekend. Raise your vibration. We just talked about it. Smile, laugh, and do something positive. It feels good, and it lowers all the negative energy that's around you. God bless. Good night, everyone.